to a very special, different, new, wonderful, exciting, fun. Did I say that one already? I don't know. I'm just so hyped up. Episode of Growth Powered by FareHarbor. I am here to try out a new format with you all to talk about a very special product we have here at FareHarbor, our FareHarbor website services, FareHarbor websites. Today, I am joined by one of my favorite people here at FareHarbor. He's smart, he's funny, he really knows his stuff. I make the joke all the time, well, Alex is always right. If you don't know, you better ask Alex. So we are joined today by Alex Neubauer, who is a senior engineer here at FareHarbor. Alex, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing absolutely fantastic. We've got a big group meeting here today in the Denver office. Tons of folks here, tons of energy, people from all over the globe flying in. So it's been an absolute blast so far.
Absolutely. I'm recording from the mountains of Colorado today, but Alex is on site there at our wonderful FareHarbor Denver office. Alex is here with me today because we are here to talk about FareHarbor websites, but in a very actionable and deliverable way for you all. So we are going to talk about the 5 proven ways that FareHarbor websites drive more bookings. So in this episode, we're going to go through the 5 key fundamentals and how FareHarbor websites really deliver on those fundamentals. And if you're not quite ready to pull the trigger, you're going to get takeaways as well to understand how you can better your website by ticking all of these boxes. Alex, I'm so excited to have you here today. Do you mind giving us just, maybe a description of what you do at FareHarbor in your own words, and a little fun fact for us as well?
Absolutely. My name's Alex Neubauer. Usually go by Noobs. If you talk to anyone at FareHarbor, they'll only know me by Noobs. But anyway, I work on the engineering team, the FH.me engineering team, and we work on the back end, the WordPress theme for FareHarbor sites. So we make sure all the technical details are dialed in. We're constantly building new features, new great ways to sell activities on your website, new integrations with the FareHarbor dashboard we've got come down the pipeline all the time. But for the last several years, I've been working on the engineering team, trying to improve as many websites at once as I can. I do have a crazy fun fact for you. I actually met my wife at FareHarbor. She worked on the commercial side of the sites team before I actually started on sites. So yeah, I've gotten a lot of great things from FareHarbor in my tenure here, but spouse is definitely the best part.
Yeah, I can't think of a fun fact that really beats that one. Here on the podcast, we love data. We love evidence. We love statistics that back up the value of what we're talking about. So can you speak to some of those statistics, some of the data-backed science that prove the value that FareHarbor websites bring to our clients?
Absolutely. Data-driven development is very important in my neck of the woods too. So totally get that. We do have some really fun, exciting statistics though about FareHarbor websites. So for the book form conversion rate, which is the conversion rate from customers who click on a booking link on your website and get into that FareHarbor light frame, on average on non-FareHarbor websites, we typically see about a 8.4% conversion rate. But on FareHarbor websites, our average conversion rate for the light frame is over 10%. We're looking at a 10.1% conversion rate, which is really stellar. 1.7% higher, but that is a 20% increase in bookings from customers who click on the FareHarbor link, get into that light frame, and actually go all the way through and make a booking. We do a lot of work to absolutely optimize our websites for conversion rates at every step of the process. I think one of the big attributing factors to this is information placement, which we'll talk a little bit more about later, but really making sure that customers on your website are self-educating. It's really going to improve the likelihood that they actually go all the way through and make a booking when they do get to that light frame. So that's something that we put a really strong emphasis on here at FareHarbor. Lots of data-driven analysis for website performance and what changes are actually going to improve conversion rates. Another statistic I'd like to share is that FareHarbor websites have, on average, about a 30% better bounce rate. So the bounce rate for customers landing on the website and immediately exiting is significantly lower for FareHarbor websites. And again, that's going to feed right back into the conversion rates. If customers are staying on your website, that means whatever they search for to land on your website, they like what they see after they got there. So your SEO matches up with what they're expecting to see when they get to the website, which is fantastic. And if they're staying on the website longer, they're educating themselves about the products on your website more. And that means that they're significantly more likely to actually go all the way through and make a booking, which is something fantastic. And that's the type of customer behavior that we're really trying to foster with FareHarbor websites.
Oh, that was beyond my wildest dreams. Thank you so much, Alex, for that breakdown. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into our fundamentals. So, the first fundamental that I have for us today is logical booking funnels. Alex, can you tell me a little bit about this fundamental, why it's so important, and what it looks like?
At a high level, booking funnel is the steps that a customer take to get from the homepage of your website to the activity, the book form of the activity that's most appropriate for them. We'll dive in and look at a practical example. This is a very similar website to a lot of the FareHarbor websites that we put together in a realistic example. And it highlights a lot of the key things that you want to make sure your website includes. The first thing that I really want to highlight here, as soon as we're on the page, I haven't scrolled, I haven't clicked, I haven't done anything. And already, before I've navigated anywhere, there's a call to action. Right there at the top of the screen, there's a Book Now button. It stands out, it's bright, it's eye-catching. Again, that's what we call a call to action. It's an element on the website that prompts the user to take an action. In this case, we want them to make a booking. So we have a verb in there, book now. And we want the user, if they're ready to book immediately, to go ahead and click that and get into that booking funnel. As I mentioned previously, there's lots of different types of bookers that will come to your website. Sometimes people know what they want to do, but they don't know when they want to do it. Sometimes it's the reverse. They don't know necessarily when they want to do it, but they know what they want to do. Additionally, they might know both of those things already, or maybe they don't know either of them. This first button here is really good because this will cater to somebody who has dates locked in, but they might not be super settled on what exactly they want to do. So as we can see here, we can click through the various dates. And on each of these dates, we have each of the activities offered on that specific date. And with just one or two clicks, we're into the book form for the activity that's going to be appropriate for us on the date that works. That's not the only booking funnel on the website, though. If we scroll down here a little further, we can see we've got these rafting trips called out directly on the page. And if one of these catches an eye, maybe somebody's looking for activities that are really going to be appropriate for their younger children, right? So they're going to click on this family float. Well, they have the option to click here and learn more. This is going to take them to the activity page where, once again, they have the ability to self-educate about the activity and easily select a date and book online. All right, let's get back to the homepage. And what I want to do real quick as an exercise is count the clicks that it took us to get to the book form for the activity that was appropriate for us. From here, we identified that because we had young children in our group here, this is just a hypothetical, we click Learn More. We learn all about the activity. We see pricing and information that's applicable to us. And when we click here, we're in the book form for the date that's appropriate for us. So we had to click the Learn More button on the homepage. We had to click the date on the calendar and the availability, and we were in the book form for the activity that we identified as most appropriate for us. That's 3 clicks to get in the book form. That is a really slick conversion path, right? We don't have any friction in this system. Nobody's going back and repeating choices, and it's very straightforward front to back. This is a key for a great logical booking funnel. You want it to be a minimal number of clicks, and you want it to be easy to follow along. Now, on our demo site here, we only have these 3 activities that we're showing off today. But for many operators, they have far more activities. A big component of a good booking flow is solid categorization. A general rule of thumb I like to use is if you have more than 6 choices, think about what the most important categories are to distinguish those. For some operators, this is going to be really obvious. You've got, tours, rentals, and private charters all set. Sometimes it's a little more complicated. If you've got, 65 different boat models that you rent, well, you really have to think about, what differentiates these. Is it the horsepower? Is it the capacity? Is it the size of the boat? But dialing in that booking access and determining what the number one choice your customers have to make to differentiate between your activities is a key component to a successful booking funnel. When we do introduce those additional steps, like going to a category page or something like that, we just want to make sure we don't inundate the customer with decision fatigue. There's a lot of choices that have to be made as part of travel, whether you're, picking what hotel you want to stay at or what airline you're going to fly with. We don't want to bombard the customer with choices that are difficult to make. We want their choices to be easy to make. So even if we have to introduce a couple more clicks into the system, making sure that each of the choices they make are digestible is really important. And the last thing I want to highlight for a great booking flow, and this is something I would recommend for every website, is make sure you highlight your most popular activities first. For many businesses, the vast majority of your online revenue might come from one or two items. Make sure those are prominently highlighted on your website, as statistically speaking, most customers are coming to your website looking to book one of those activities. So something to keep in mind when you're designing your homepage.
Alex, thank you so much for that rundown. Again, that is fundamental number one, a logical booking funnel that should be logical. Let's move on to fundamental number two, information placement that empowers bookers and especially empowers the online booker. Can you speak to that a little bit?
I've got a lot of strong feelings about this topic. Ever since I've been working at FareHarbor, I've realized just the joy of experiences when you travel. And so I've definitely come up against this a few times myself where the information I'm looking for might not always be present. So this one's near and dear to my heart as a booker myself. But let's start on the homepage. Great place to start for information placement. I think the key principle to keep in mind when we're discussing information placement on the website is the more important the information, the higher up on the page it should be. The reality is, we might be used to scrolling on our phones, doom scrolling on social media, but people just do not like to scroll and look for information. Things that are really relevant to booking, which we'll dive into, or need to be very obvious on the page, because if someone's looking for that information specifically, they shouldn't have to hunt very far. Something I want to call out on the homepage, though, a really key principle is your headers, your H1. What do customers see when they land on the homepage? And two most important things that I see a lot of operators miss, honestly, is what do you do? What is your business? And where do you do it? Two very key elements, but sometimes people miss it. Also, I'm sorry, I'm about to call out someone really hard here, but paddleboard and kayak rental operators. Just because you know where your local lake is does not mean everyone coming to your website knows where that lake is. Definitely the area where I see it get slipped up the most. It's like you're very familiar with your local area, but that doesn't mean that everyone coming to your website is as intimate with your specific neighborhood, your specific location, your specific region. And so you really want to spell it out for them. Additionally, this is one of the key SEO spots for your website. And local SEO and local rankings are really some of the best ways that you can get your website in front of eyes of people coming to your location. But let's dive into something a little more specific, like an activity page, right? So this is going to be an activity page where we're selling a specific activity. And we notice when we load up this page, we've got a couple things going on. First off is an eye-catching video of people actually going on the activity. We found very consistently in our research that customers online have a lot easier time picturing themselves on your activity when they see photos of other people on the activity. Now, I know not everyone can do this, but for the vast majority of operators, I really encourage you to make sure you have photos of people having fun on your activity, because I know people are out there having a blast and people love to see that when they come to your website. And then as we scroll down, we've got some key pieces of information highlighted, right? So we've covered photos. Now we've got ages, duration, and meeting location. And we've also got pricing in the sidebar there. So these are 4 pieces of information that realistically No customer on your website is going to make a booking without knowing these pieces of information. Customers know what they're booking, they know what they're signing up for. That's going to make everyone happier along the entirety of the process when they actually come and show up for the activity. And the best way is to educate them about those details, trim it down, right? This is not a recipe website. I should not have to scroll through 8 paragraphs about how your grandmother invented this stew to save your grandpa from hypothermia in the blizzard of 72. We are selling activities, and you do not need a blog post prior to these crucial pieces of information. So making sure you're calling those out and highlighting those. Again, especially for me as a booker, the one that always kills me is the meeting location. I'll have
Mm-hmm.
the price, the duration, how long it's going to be, and I'll have all these
Mm-hmm.
expectations managed about what's going to be there. But what I don't know is, can I walk to the meeting location to the tour from my
Yeah.
hotel? I don't always
Especially
book
when you're
transportation.
unfamiliar with the area you're going to and you need to know, do I need to rent a car? How far, like, what's the deal? I can see their office location at the bottom of the website, but I have no idea if that's going to be the meeting location.
Last year we had Spark in New Orleans. It was actually my wife and I's anniversary right after the conference, which was fantastic, but we got to spend a little more time in the city and really soak it up. And it was an absolute blast. And luckily, I was able to, walk everywhere and do all the things I wanted, which was fantastic. I didn't need a vehicle. But there were a couple bookings where I was really unsure about making them because I wasn't sure where I physically needed to be for the tour to start. So absolutely make sure you've got that highlighted. And again, we're just keeping that key information as high up on the page as possible. When possible, we like to use the term above the fold. So what we have on the screen right now is everything I can see without scrolling. And I've got the ages, the pricing, the duration, and the meeting location all visible right there. So that's a great way to get customers self-educating on your website. And again, the customers who self-educate are the ones who are most likely to actually go all the way through and make a booking.
Perfect. Well, Alex, you're talking a whole lot about a word here that I love here at FareHarbor that we use quite often in our corporate lingo, which is optimization. Our FareHarbor websites via the desktop view that we've been looking at thus far in our conversation today has all been in the desktop view. But our next fundamental number 3, is all about mobile optimization. Can you speak to the importance of mobile optimization? You talked earlier in this episode today about how there's so many people who will start on their cell phone, then they go to book on their desktop. But a lot of people live and die by their cell phone. And I can speak to that because I see my screen time every Sunday. So can you speak a little bit to how FareHarbor does mobile optimization right?
Absolutely. Just to earn out some statistics, most recently, I think we see 80% of first-time visitors on our websites on average across the board are on mobile devices. So this is really, again, the first foot you're putting forward to these customers. The very first thing they're going to see is, that homepage mobile view. Let's dive in here and take a look at the mobile view for this. What I want to highlight is that key information that we talked about is still here at the top of the page. So before we went anywhere else or looked at anything else, we still had our ages, our duration, our eye-catching photos, and we have our pricing, right? These key pieces of information. And what do we have right under that? Our call to action, the most important step to prompt the booker to take the next step in the booking journey, to get them to the next step in the process. And so we've got all that right here. But what happens with a lot of websites, if you haven't really taken the time to dial in your mobile website, is you'll have a desktop format like this, where you've got a sidebar with some content, and it's crucial content, right? Like the book now button or the pricing. And on the other side is the rest of the content that you put on the web page.
And I do have some data on that. For those in the FareHarbor community, we talked a lot about 2024's data in conversion rates. In 2024, FareHarbor clients saw their customers engage by 86.4% on mobile, and desktop was 12.5%. And that is with looking at the FareHarbor Light frame. When we're looking at conversion rates, the mobile conversion rate in the FareHarbor Lightframe was 8.8% on mobile, but 12.5% on desktop. So just as you suspected, Alex, of course you're always right, but it is a higher conversion rate on desktop at that 12.5% versus that 8.8% conversion rate on mobile. However, when you look at the total amount of sessions, it's overwhelmingly on mobile versus desktop. So again, it's really important to have that responsiveness, which FareHarbor websites, I think, do really well.
Something else to keep in mind if you are an operator working on your website is the ticket price. Typically, we see larger ticket price items are more likely to be purchased on the desktop as opposed to on the mobile, where people are very comfortable making smaller purchases. So for if you have a cheaper ticket, $20 to $30, something like that, I would definitely try and get people to convert in that initial mobile view. Whereas if you've got some of these like $400 or $500 price ticket items, it's definitely expected that people might come back and make the big purchase on the desktop computer. So definitely something to keep in mind.
All right, well, it sounds like FareHarbor Sites has got it covered from both a mobile and desktop standpoint, but I really love this next fundamental because everyone is so about AI, rightfully so, right? It's cool, it's hip, it's fun, it's automated, it's fast, but real human connection, I really believe here at FareHarbor especially, there's nothing like it, right? And I'm sure all of our clients can attest to that with our wonderful support team. So let's talk about fundamental number 4, trustworthiness and real human connection. Can you speak to that in the realm of FareHarbor website services?
This is something I think is really critical. As I've said before, your website is your best salesperson. They are working 24/7 to get your business in front of the eyes of people looking to book your activities. And they work hard. But something you need to make sure your website does is build that trust, that ethos between your business and the customers coming to your website. Again, this is statistically likely the first time that they're interacting with your business when they land on that website the first time. Nobody is putting in their credit card information on a website they think is sketchy. Full stop. That is something that is absolutely essential, is having SSL set up, good security. Our FareHarbor Sites uses WordPress VIP's premier infrastructure for hosting our websites. And they have FedRAMP level security. The websites are extremely secure, both from a content standpoint and as well as from a standpoint of your customers using your website. So you can be assured we've got security dialed in tight. But security is not the only way you build trust between you and your customers. Another really important aspect are some of these kind of auxiliary pages on your website that you might not necessarily think are super important right off the bat. We're selling activities. Do I really need an About Us page? Well, depending on the type of business, people want to know that you know what you're doing, making sure that your customers feel confident that there is a trusted professional at the other end of this booking, right? When they make this booking, they're actually going to show up and they're going to go on the activity with somebody who knows what they're doing, who's a seasoned professional, who, provides these great experiences time and time again consistently. And that's something that people really love. And it's really going to help boost their confidence in your business. Another example of a similar tool is the Contact Us page, right? Ideally, your customers don't need to use this at all. You already have all the information easily accessible on your website, and there aren't other outstanding questions. But people are varied. We're different. We're all unique, and we all have, our unique needs and things like that. And for a lot of people, just having that trust that they know that they can reach out to you if they need an accommodation or have a question is such a key element of, again, building that trust. The last thing that I want to talk about just as a concept is hosting reviews on your website. We've got some statistics, but I think it's like 91% of young adults trust a review for a product as much as a personal recommendation. And that is so huge to, again, instilling that trust that if you book this activity, you are going to have a good time. And on our FareHarbor sites, that's something that we really put a strong emphasis on, is making sure these testimonials are featured prominently, whether it's on the homepage or the activity page, and showing your customers that there are real people that have gone on this activity and they have had a fantastic time, and so can you. So another just key element to keep in mind for building that connection, where even though you're not talking to the customer, your website is still building the credibility for your business in that customer's mind. And that's just going to make them all the more confident when it comes to actually pulling the trigger and making the booking.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And again, in a world full of AI, in a world full of bots, it's so good to know that a tour is real, which sounds ridiculous to say out loud, but it's true. I see in so many different tourism and solo travel online communities of people who are like, I booked a tour that wasn't even real. And so that trustworthiness, that real human connection, I think is a fundamental that's often looked over as a no-brainer, but deserves just as much attention as these other fundamentals that we went over today. Our next fundamental is probably my favorite. I know it is a humongous buzzword in the world of tourism, really any e-commerce, anywhere you're selling anything online. Maybe you're trying to become an influencer, I don't know, and you have no idea how to handle this subject. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it. It is fundamental number 5, built-in SEO that drives traffic. I think everyone knows what SEO is, Alex, but can you speak a little bit to SEO and why does it matter and how does FareHarbor sites do it so well?
SEO, or search engine optimization, is basically the practices that are implemented on a website in order to make the website as appealing as possible for search engines, right? Search engine content and rankings aren't generated by people. They're generated automatically by bots that crawl the internet looking for content. And they don't have kind of like the human touch. And so there's a lot of like technical fine details that can go into SEO. The reason why it's so important for businesses of all sizes, it is the best source of free traffic to your website, right? You can always spend money on ads and pay for traffic to your website, but organic traffic is going to be that free traffic that you're just constantly getting. And as long as your website's converting well, will just be making you online revenue. People are going to organically find your website through a search engine. And when they do, and you've got this super dialed in website, it's gonna be appealing and they're gonna want to book online. But having those fine-tuned technical optimizations is where it gets a little difficult. And the reality of the situation, I'm just going to be blunt about it. SEO is difficult. Going in and doing your SEO is difficult. I've been working in web development for many years now, and it's tough. It's tough for 2 reasons. One, it's hyper competitive. All of your other businesses in your area are competing for the same dollars that you are, and we're all trying to eat out of the same bucket. The second reason it's so difficult is because it's constantly changing. A lot of the things that we heard that were, really important for SEO, 5-10 years ago are borderline irrelevant these days. And so if you're not, really keeping your ear to the ground and keeping a, strong eye on how Google's algorithm is impacting SEO and what they're changing and what kind of levers they're pulling to improve their search results, it's really hard to stay competitive. One of the really great things that I love about FareHarbor websites is our dedicated SEO team. We have a team of SEO specialists who do nothing but search engine optimization for FareHarbor websites. And even if you know SEO is something you need, and you need to pay for an SEO expert, it is so hard to find an actual reliable, trustworthy SEO expert out there, especially because a lot of SEO changes can take, up to a quarter to show on your website and to actually for the rankings to actually meaningfully change in a measurable way. And, when you have to wait a quarter or longer to find out if the money that you were spending to this agency was worth it, that is brutal, especially for a small business. You've only got so much budget for your website and for your ad spend and things like this. So the fact that FareHarbor sites can offer vetted SEO experts out of the gate. I mean, these folks are absolute pros at what they do. Some of the best I've ever worked with anywhere. And so just being able to know that what you're paying for is actually legitimate SEO work is such a big boon. There are a lot
Hmm.
of other technical elements that we do on my team to make sure everything's really scoped to your SEO needs. Things like local business schema and various other blog post schemas and things like that. Another really big emphasis we put is on local SEO. I don't have any SEO cheat codes, and I wish I did. I would probably make a lot more money if I did, but the reality is there aren't any. It's only hard
Hmm.
work. But if I did have an SEO cheat code for uh, anyone out there trying to boost organic traffic to their website, it would be that local SEO is the easiest and most effective type of SEO to build. Something that we've seen really prominently, especially in Google, is an emphasis in the search engine to scope the results tailored to your specific location or where you're searching. So that's one of the things that we put a strong emphasis on. It's one of the best things that you can do to build SEO, especially as a new business. So definitely something I recommend to everyone. Make sure your Google My Business page is filled out correctly. You've claimed ownership of it. You're getting Google reviews from satisfied customers on your activities. You're uploading photos and stuff from your activities. These are all things that Google says don't directly help SEO, but they do tangentially help. So definitely something I would recommend.
Thanks, Alex. Can you speak to a little bit specifically on what we deliver in the realm of SEO with our various offerings and SEO packages at FareHarbor? So, what you talked a little bit about quarterly reporting to help our clients understand their traffic, ranking, and opportunity. What other deliverables do we offer?
The first thing is a full technical SEO audit before the site is built. So the SEO experts will go through, they'll crawl the website, they'll review all the content, they'll know all the pages that you have on your website, what ranks well, what doesn't, any redirects that need to be set up, and they'll have a great starting point for knowing where you're already succeeding and what your opportunities for growth are. Next up is a clean, crawlable site structure based on real keywords and content analysis. So part of that is the copy and content that's put on the page. Part of that is what my team does and making sure that the actual code on your website is semantic and crawlable for robots. A lot of off-the-shelf products, especially certain builders for WordPress that are visual, add a ton of extra elements onto the page. And this actually prevents bots from scraping the content that's going to be relevant and improving your SEO. So our theme is much more trimmed down. We've only got what's necessary to render the elements on the page. And that's going to make it a lot more digestible for bots. We talked about redirects, but again, when we build a new site, making sure that all of the pages from your old site have redirects to new pages so you don't have any 404s, and any SEO that you had on any other pages beyond your homepage was preserved. And again, we provide that super clean site structure that the bots like to see. So they know where all your new pages are. They know what all your new pages are. And they can easily find the content on them. Additionally, we have consistent quarterly reports to help you understand your traffic, what keywords you're ranking for, and what opportunities for growth exist on your website. And lastly, just the strategic improvements that lead to real growth over time, not just day one. So actually taking a strategy to the SEO approach and saying, here's what you're ranking for now. Here's what we think you could be ranking for. And here's what we're going to do to get you to rank for those keywords that, are just a little bit out of reach right now, but could help bring some great traffic to your site in the future. So it's an all-in-one comprehensive approach to SEO. I really believe the team that we have is the best in the industry.
A few other call outs to have before we wrap up the episode. I see here between 2019 and 2023, it was a 150% total traffic growth across FareHarbor sites, which is crazy. 115% total traffic growth across FareHarbor sites between 2019 and 2023. And I just think that speaks volumes to the services that we offer for those FareHarbor site clients. Alex, if you had what the kids call a TLDR, too long, didn't read, what would you say to the listener or the watcher right now? What should they take away from this little demo we have of our FareHarbor website services?
There are so many different realms that you need to become an expert on, it feels like, in order to have a successful business in today's day and age. And if I had one takeaway, it was that, you know, FareHarbor is here to be your partner, and FareHarbor sites can help take off so much of the load, the mental load. You don't also have to be a web designer and an SEO expert on top of all the other requirements that already exist for your business. Click through your website, see how it measures up.
Absolutely. So if your website right now does not tick all 5 of these fundamental boxes, it's not optimized to convert, but with FareHarbor websites, it will be. Again, the fundamentals that we went over today. Fundamental number 1, logical booking funnels. Fundamental number 2, information placement that empowers your online bookers. Fundamental number 3 is mobile optimization. Number 4 is trustworthiness and real human connection. And finally, number 5 is built-in SEO that drives traffic. If you are interested in a FareHarbor website, I promise we're very friendly. Give us a metaphorical ring, and that ring looks like going to sites.fareharbor.com to learn more or request a consultation. Alex, thank you so much for being on with me today. Thank you, Alex, for coming on, hanging on, and giving us such powerful, actionable, deliverable information.
Thanks for having me. Websites are such a passion for me. I'd love to talk about this any chance I get.
Well, for those who are interested in FareHarbor sites and want to talk to us face to face, we have Spark coming up. You can learn more about the events that we have, maybe one even coming on site to where you operate out of at fareharbor.com/events. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode of Growth Powered by FareHarbor, please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment any questions you may have about FareHarbor, about your operation, about the websites that we have. Again, my name is Rebecca. I'm the community manager and host of Growth Powered by FareHarbor. This is Alex, my favorite senior engineer here at FareHarbor. We bid you adieu and give you a big thank you, and we will see you all at Spark 2025.